Okay, so this one is a renovation that we're doing. So if I go to my existing 3D, so this is the topography of the block. You can see it slopes down a lot from the street. This block has actually got a big tennis court here in this section, and it's a old, what we call Queenslander, um, probably built around 1910, 1920, um, made of timber, very thin walls, and so that's it as it is. It's got a big pool here. So this house is on 3 blocks of land, um, and because of the tennis court that was here, which I haven't drawn, the only way that they could get into their garage is to come down this steep driveway and either come in, and they could only fit one car in here because of the angles that they'd have to come in and then back out again. So this person bought the house and wanted to put a garage up at this level. And they were looking at doing some extensions out the back here as well. So this is after a bit of back and forth with the council, initially we had the garage linked with a walkway so they could just come straight in and walk across with a roof over it. They didn't want to go through council for any town planning applications. They just wanted to go straight to a building application to a certifier. So they decided to delete that part of it. So this is drawn in phase 1, and everything that we do to start with, we draw in the existing phase. Okay, so that allows us to go, so we do existing first floor, existing ground floor, and then we do our proposed first floors. So we just duplicate these other floors, and then you can change this phasing at any time. So say at the moment I'm in the proposed first level, which shows my carport here on phase 1, and it's showing the previous phase, which was existing, and then the new phase, which is phase 1. You can look at it on different ways. So you can go show complete, which just makes it a lot darker. If I go previous and new, it just lightens out the sections that we're not dealing with and brings these forward. So it puts these, say, at a half scale. So people are more concentrated on this. So this one, there wasn't much demolition, but you could go in and go show demo only, and we can see that we've had demolished some handrail in here to start with, and we demolished the existing windows because they were going to replace those. So in a bigger house where we're doing a lot more demolition, we can actually um, sorry, view it in any of these ways and just keep duplicating our views to view those how we want to view it. So say if with this they wanted to come back later and put the walkway in here, I would then create that on phase 2. So I can show you. So if I go to phase 2 now, it cuts out a lot of your notes that you're putting in, like your sections. So these sections were created in phase 1, so they will disappear when you change your phase to phase 2. Okay, and let's just say, so I'll just create another floor through here, and that's going to be the walkway that they want to do. If I change that to phase 2, it'll disappear. But if I change my phase 2 in my viewing, it'll come back again. Okay, so that way you can, someone might want to do a multi-stage renovation. They might want to lift the house to start with, build in underneath, which is very common in our area. So because they're timber houses, a lot of the houses we can lift up and build them underneath and double the size of the house without extending out further. So that might be their first phase, is what they're going to do. Second phase, they're going to do a rear extension with a deck on it and a new rumpus area or something. So we can draw it completely up so that they can see how the overall building will be once they're finished the job, and phase it accordingly, and then view the phasing through our sheets, and just turn them off and on so each one can go to the certifier at different times. So with that, you can you can do up to 4 phases, but normally we don't need it as much. Normally existing phase 1 or 2 is about all that we usually will use, and then you can then go back. You'll notice I've got the existing 3D and I keep that phase at existing, so that's all I'm going to see at any time. If I want to go, so this one's phase 1, the original one, and I can duplicate that view, change my phasing to what I want to view it as phase 2, and I'll see what we're doing on that phase. As part of that phase, for instance, say they wanted to, let's go back into here, and as part of this phase, they wanted to demolish this garage and build something else. So actually, let's just go, okay, well, let's demolish, they want to demolish the roof. So we've demolished that roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me check these. Some of these, this is what I do when I'm doing my perspectives. I just do those ones. So this is the one we're using, number 2. So phase 2, that's created in phase 1. You can either demolish it Okay, so if we're in that phase, after we built this, we're gonna demolish that and build another story on top of here. So we would demolish that in phase 2. Okay. Now this is where you could turn the complete to say, so if you go previous and new, previous and demo, so you can see it turns out in red. So you can use that to make it easier to see certain things of your project. And then we go back to complete, and because it's in that phase, it is demolished. So a lot of times when we have these old buildings, if they say extending at the back and we got to demolish the roof, put a new roof on, we would demolish those sections, and then we would have a full council with these old buildings. We need to show them what we're demolishing, so we can have a plan showing just the demolished sections. So we would just duplicate this and use the phasing to show what we wanted to, just for demolition. We can show them a 3D like this and just show them what we're demolishing as well. So it's it's good for those type of things. Most of the time in new housing, they just don't need to use it. So with that setting, you can see we were in phase 1. So this is all the grayed out section was the existing. But then there's the new section here that we were looking at putting on. Now putting new windows in here. Down here we did some demolition, and then we put so we demolished the roller door, then we put the window in. We demolished that bit of a handrail to get our walkway across. So it's it's really good to use. It's just knowing how to use the phasing for what you need, but making sure that certain things are done in certain phases and changing it that way. There is a way that you can, so if you wanted that, you drew that and you drew it in the wrong phase, you can just change it at any time over here. So then you go back and then that's in that phase. So even with the demolition, you go, okay, well, I don't want to demolish that. So you just go to none to bring it back if they've changed their mind about it. So it's that's how we use it a lot. Like I said, we do have it in our other jobs other than renovations, like this one, purely to have the existing site plan as it is, and it's just something that is set up. So when we start a new job, we normally have all of those elevations, because you have to duplicate so many elevations, and for your existing elevations and your proposed elevations, and then you've got demolition one, so you have to duplicate so many of them, you can end up with a massive list in here. But we normally do it to keep our levels as well. So if we're raising this house, then that's a whole another process of doing it, because Revit runs off of levels. The way we need to do it, that we find the easiest, and people do it differently, is to draw the house, don't show the number on here for the level height, draw it at the height that we're going to be at, so we work that out, and then we will copy the topography up. So we have 2 sets of topography sitting in there, so one for existing and one for proposed, and then we hide them and demolish the topography or whatever to then in the proposed to be able to see the whole ground floor of the house if the house was raised. So we actually work backwards when we're doing that, when we raise a house. So